I'm Claire from Love Finance, and I'm here today with Hayden at his recently purchased property. And what we're going to talk to Hayden about today is his life as a miner when he was in that industry. It's been 8 years since he's been out of that industry, and due to a health condition, he went from earning quite large money in the mining industry to actually have it virtually taken away from him overnight. And so we're going to hear a bit about his story, what sort of money he was sort of earning, what he was doing when he was earning that money, and perhaps things that he might have done a little bit differently had he have known what he knows now. So Hayden, you were in the mines, as we said, about 8 years ago.
Yep.
And just want to talk us a little bit through that, how you got into the mining industry, perhaps what you were doing a little bit before the mining industry, what took you to the mining industry?
Yeah, no worries. Well, prior to the mining industry, I was a plumber by trade, and that was good, but all my mates were starting to migrate towards the mining industry and earning big money, and that's sort of what caught my eye to go to the mining industry. And the only way for me to get in was to travel, so I went to Queensland.
Yeah.
It took a little while to get into the industry itself, just because the lack of skills or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I got in, it was great. I was working 2 weeks in to 1 week out off.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So when you worked obviously really hard for those 2 weeks on, and you earned quite big money, and then at the end of those 2 weeks, what did you find yourself doing on that week off? Were you keen on putting money aside, or were you out sort of having fun and perhaps buying toys or lifestyle, or what was that like?
At the start, I was very unorganised with my money, mainly because I'd moved to Queensland, didn't really know too many people. So that week off, yeah, it was nearly an issue of boredom. Just going to the pub, having beers all the time, just enjoying life, and wasn't really thinking too far in the future at the time. And yeah, so yeah, working quite hard, but not saving a great deal of money.
Yeah, okay. And I know that you actually came back to New South Wales and went into the mines here, and then you actually started to upskill yourself. So just talk us through why you did that.
Yeah, that's correct, Claire. The reason, once I was in the mines, it didn't take too long to figure out an avenue to try and climb the ladder quickly to earn more and more money. Because I didn't want to do it forever. I wanted to get in and get out as quick as I could. When I came back to New South Wales, it was more of a constant working stream where I was on either day work or night shift or whatever shift I was on. And yeah, it was quite good.
Yeah.
Weekly paychecks, going back home and doing those sorts of things.
Yeah, okay. Now, when we did first meet, you were studying as well.
Yep.
When you completed that study, what did that take you to?
So when I started in the mines, I was just a Federation worker, just a straight out mine worker. From there, I did some study to become an underground supervisor or a deputy. And then from there, I actually became a deputy, earning some really good money doing that. Mm-hmm. And then there was another level to go to as under manager. I did my under manager's course, all but completed it, and then that's when I was struck down with epilepsy and was not allowed underground any longer.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have been allowed because, from my understanding, you actually walk. Is it you walk the wall? Is that what you say? Or you walk on your own, so that could have been a bit dangerous if something happened to you.
There was a lot of time on my own. Yeah. You're also in a confined space. You're trying to supervise people underground. In emergencies, you have to be quite aware. And if I wasn't up to the challenge or had a seizure or something, and no one was there to instruct, that's when big issues could arise.
Okay. So from what we know now is that you went from earning quite substantial money to having that income actually taken away from you because the mines at that stage wouldn't allow you to go back until you had certain clearances.
That's correct. So overnight it was just taken away. there's been like no evidence of epilepsy in my family, and it just caught me off guard. And when I went and had all the tests done, I was locked out of the mining industry for 10 years,
Yeah, wow.
not to go underground.
Yeah.
So, and that pretty much summed up my career.
Yeah. So overnight, this wonderful lifestyle that you had been having, so traveling overseas and, you know, having the nice cars and having the fun, you know, which we all like to have when we're young. There's nothing wrong with that. The mine said take 3 months off. So what did you do in that 3 months? How was your thought process around that? Did you think you would be back in the mines after those 3 months?
So when it first happened, I was assuming I was just going to have a bit of time off and get a few tests done. It'll all be good. Underground I go, and that's where I thought I was heading when it first sort of happened. But yeah, it turned out it just wasn't the case, and because I was an underground worker, I had to go underground. So as soon as that, I was buggered.
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine, and I did actually obviously know you through that process, and I have to say to you that I greatly admire how you took that, because I know the life that you were leading, and I know it must have been so difficult, but you never let anybody see that, not in my eyes anyway. So when we would talk about it, you were dealing with it, you know, you were just sort of trying to accept and look for things that perhaps you might be able to do in your future, but you still weren't quite sure what it was that you would be able to do.
Yep. Yeah, it was very disappointing to have all that hard work taken away from me. Like, we were working very hard in the mines, I was studying at night time, doing all that stuff, and for it just to be taken away was very difficult. And to tell you the truth, that was my plan. I didn't really have any other plans other than earn some big money, set up my family potentially, and call it a day. That was me.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything had to get readjusted quite quickly.
Yeah.
So had a lot of time to think about it and try and move forward.
So of course, Hayden, when you this first happened to you, you actually were quite young. You weren't married. You didn't have a family at that time. However, you were seeing somebody. And how did you think that would impact the life that you had imagined you both would have moving forward? You know, that I know that you took that 3 months time off, and you did a lot of soul searching. I know that you went away for a few months. We'll come back to that. But, you know, can you remember what your thoughts were because you were in this relationship, and I think you were thinking about moving forward, you know, wife, family. Did that sort of frighten you a little bit, that you weren't sure how that would impact that relationship and what you could offer as a family, as a male? I know most males think they've got to provide for their family and the wife's not to do anything, and I know you're very much like that. So
yeah, I am very much like that.
You are very much like that. So have you got any thoughts around that?
When it first happened, I was just very lucky I had the support that I did. Amy was great and everyone around me was fantastic. To progress and move forward, I really was lost, a little bit numb if anything. Looking back on it now, I just really was lost. I just had to sit back and just try and think of what else was out there. And I was very lucky that I do have a trade behind me, and if I needed to go back that way, I did have an avenue.
Yeah.
So.
And you could have, but you chose not to. I suppose the other thing is that you know, you were fortunate enough that, as you said, you had that support around you, and we know that there's a lot of depression and anxiety that can sort of influence a lot of the mine workers' mindset because they're away from their families and the ones they love. And as you have just said, you know, you were fortunate that you had support around you, but a lot of these fly in, fly out guys or drive in, drive out guys, you know, sometimes they don't feel they can reach out and get support when they need it if something does happen to them, whether it's their, you know, their family, you know, or just being away from home. Have you got any suggestions just right here while we're talking about this point that you would like to share with them if something did happen to them, you know, or they're having some, you know, struggling mentally with some things? What would you suggest to them?
I would suggest focus on the goals at hand. That's all I did when I was out in the middle of Queensland. You just focused on the task and what you wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
That is about all I had.
Yeah.
I went into the mines for one reason, is to earn money.
Yeah.
And that was my sole goal. But yeah, you're definitely right with the mental health issues and things that can develop just by being isolated. I knew it's very strange to get used to, and when you're out there by yourself and just not doing a great deal, sitting in a camp or whatever, very, very hard to adapt to.
So we know there's help available out there for people now. I think the mines are investing quite a fair bit of money into mental health programs, and I think sort of a lot of guys think that that's sort of showing a weakness, that
the macho mentality. Yes, definitely, and you see it all the time. And maybe even I had an issue that I just wasn't registering myself. You know, that I was just missing. There are so many avenues that are available to people, but yeah, they just get caught up in, I don't want to be seen as weak or whatever, because big tough coal miners, which just isn't the case.
No, that's right. So I suppose best advice for them would be to just reach out and get help. It's not a weakness.
Oh, the help is here.
Yeah.
And there's been so much more done on it. Just go out and talk to someone.
Yeah. And it's not only better for your own health, but your family's health as well, isn't it? You know, so I think that's really important. We'll just jump back into your story then. So when you're earning that big money, or looking back now on that big money that you were earning, and you think about what you did with that money, you know, what did you find that yourself, or maybe not so much you, but people around you, what were they doing sensible things with their money, or were they thinking about their future, setting goals, wanting to buy property? Or were they blowing it?
It was
gambling?
a pretty good party.
Yeah,
it was.
Party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I had 4 cars, like for no real reason. I had, my mates would go out on benders and spend $600 without even thinking. Like, go to the track and have a big day on the horses or whatever. And the only reason we could do that is because we were getting so much money. The next, I'll get $1,000 next week or whatever, you know. So, and that's what I had to break to start moving forward. And you can still do both. Like, I save deposits for houses. Once you get that first house, as you know, it's so much easier to keep moving forward. And so once that was locked down, I was still going overseas snowboarding and all the rest of it, because we are on such good money. Oh, it was. And it just allowed me to invest and enjoy the good things as well. I didn't really miss out at all.
Well, when I first met you, you had one property.
Yep.
And then you got the second property, which was great. And when you purchased that second property, that was sort of when I stepped in, helped you with the finance, and actually got you to get some income protection because you were going into debt for another property.
Yes.
Would you like to share, you know, how important that income protection was for you once you knew you couldn't work in the mines?
When I first met you, you introduced me to a whole different side of business that you were heavily involved with. And me being a hopeless male, I wasn't going to actively go and seek insurance on my days off or whatever like that. And it was very easy once you guided me in the right directions and said, look, how about you start thinking of these things or start thinking of that options. It was never, the bonus is with you, Claire, is it was never a push or a shove, it was just guidance. And that's what I needed as, well, a hopeless male, if you want to go down that road. But yeah, I needed a map laid out in front of me, I think these are your options. And it was easy. It was easier than going into a bank and spending half your day just to get told you don't meet criteria, whereas you were opened up to all your banks that you could guide me down.
Yeah. And I think just to come back, because I know Hayden has now said twice he's a hopeless male, but he was working very long hours at the time, I do remember. And I remember you being very, very, very tired.
Yep.
So, you know, sometimes it gets overwhelming when you're doing, you know, buying a property, you need to get house insurance, life insurance, all this sort of stuff. So,
yeah, well, some weeks I was working 7 days a week. And I wasn't going to go out and search for those things. And I didn't really have the platform to seek those things in my short period that I had, where you just had it all set out for me, ready to rock, which was great.
You were in the mines for 7 years and you've now been out 8 years.
Yep.
So you have now managed to actually step out and do something wonderful. So you're married now, of course.
Married, 3 kids.
3 children, and you have managed to get yourself this amazing property, 40 acres, and created an income for yourself and your family.
Yep.
You're now feeling quite confident about your future.
Yes.
And you can now see that, and just to come back, you know, one of those investment properties actually helped support you to purchase this property.
Correct.
So, you know, that's what I love about investment properties, that they can, if you're not ready to buy your own home right at this moment, you can purchase an investment property and hold on to it for a number of years until you're ready to purchase your owner occupied, and you can sell that if you wanted to, or use the equity in it and then purchase your owner occupied property, which is what you did with that property, and you were able to keep your other property.
Yeah, which I think that's what gave me confidence when it all turned pear-shaped.
Yeah.
I did have support and backing behind me, which was set up.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
if I hadn't have done those things,
Yeah.
I would not have what I have today.
Yeah, that's right.
Simple.
So, and do you feel that having those 2 properties, that impacted your lifestyle or living at any time? You know, like putting $50 a week or whatever it might have been into that investment property, did that really take away from your lifestyle or having fun with your mates? Or
No, it didn't, because you knew the benefits were there on the other end. So you didn't mind throwing a bit of money at it when you had to.
Yeah.
So the hardest part was getting in. Once that was sorted, the rest was quite easy.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I think what you've done is extremely admirable. I mean, I know doing this has been a massive
Adjustment.
adjustment,
Yeah,
but also, you know, it's allowed you a lot of freedom. You know, where you first started your relationship with your girlfriend at the time, now wife, as you said, you were working 7 days a week. Now I remember you were doing weekends, and she had weekends off, so you literally weren't seeing each other.
No.
So if I can share this with everyone, so when you took that 3 months off, as the mind said that you needed to do to, you know, to come back then and be, you know, reassessed,
Yep.
that's when you decided to, you know, jump in a little camper and go around Australia. And
Yeah, when I did get reassessed and found out that I wasn't going down the mine anytime soon, the opportunity was there. Yeah, jumped in the truck and went around Australia.
Yeah.
So
And
it was great.
proposed to your girlfriend while you were at Ayers Rock.
Yes.
And had the wedding planned by the time you got back, because you were travelling.
I think it was already planned. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so Hayden, you have done amazingly well, and I hope that anyone that listens to this who perhaps might find themselves in a challenging situation, if you're a fly in, fly out, and life has changed a bit, or you're suffering from any type of depression or anything like that, or if you know that you're actually blowing more money than you know you should be, but you want to do something positive about it, you've heard Hayden's story. You can see how your life can actually change and, you know, turn around in some pretty adverse situations. So if you want to make some changes into your life, then just get in touch. I'm Claire from Love Finance, and my number is 0418 299 370. And I just want to say thank you to you, Hayden, for your time today.
Thank you, Claire, for everything you've done for me.
My
It's been
pleasure.
fantastic.